In our world right now, religion is extremely important for billions and billions of people. And in fantasy worlds, it seems to be the same most of the time. So let's talk about religion in your fantasy world. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the Daily D20, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games, helping you build your world and master your game. And today, we're getting back into our world building a little bit. We're talking religion and how current world religions can affect your fantasy world religions, and what these mean, what kind of choices you have to make in designing your world and building your fantasy world's religion. Giving a fictional world a religion is a great way to make it feel more fleshed out and whole. And even better than one religion for the world is giving it multiple religions, because that is what the world is like now, and that is what feels real and full to us as human beings. Now, in your fantasy world, you have to make the decision what kind of religion you want. And I've made some decisions for my world of Yindir, and I want to share those with you, as well as share some of the current constructs or the current world religions that are out there that you might be able to incorporate into your world in some way or another. But as always, when it comes to world building and creating something new, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to follow the set belief systems that are out there in our world. You can come up with something totally different that doesn't make any sense to anyone else but you, and that's fine because it's your fantasy world. Now, in the real world here, we have so many different belief systems that I couldn't even do a whole video on all of them if I wanted to, because there's too many and they're all sub-beliefs and there's so many options we can do. But I do want to give you some idea of some belief systems so you can look at these, and if you want to steal or take these for your own world, you can. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. But it's good to know about these things when building your world so you have something to pull from when making your own decisions. In modern worlds, we have so many belief systems, so let's just get into it because I can say that over and over again. As I'm doing these, remember these are simplified explanations. They aren't in-depth analysis of these different belief systems. It's just a simple surface level explanation of what these things believe. The first up though is monotheism, or monotheists. These are basically the people who believe in one God. They have one higher power that they believe in, and that is their God. This is a very common belief in Christianity, having one true God. Usually in a monotheistic religion, the one God is also all-powerful and all-knowing and all-present. It is a much larger being than humans. Meaning it is vastly more powerful, and it doesn't exactly relate. It's not like I can walk and talk with that God, but they are there and they are a very real being that these people believe in. Polytheistic religions are similar in that they believe in gods, but the word poly means multiple, so polytheistic basically means in multiple gods. And oftentimes these gods in these religions have different abilities or traits or kind of domains that they look after. Polytheistic religions can range in style from the type of the ancient Greek, where each god had its separate entity and a very different kind of domain that they looked over, all the way to Hinduism, which is more of all of the gods are part of a greater god being and are a greater whole, for example, but they still believe in multiple gods. That is very different ways to do a polytheistic religion, and you can summarize this by saying a polytheistic religion is a religion that believes in multiple gods. That's an easy way to say it, and I don't mean that with any disrespect towards any of the current world religions or people out there. I'm just trying to summarize it and make it clear for new DMs who are trying to build their own world religions. Animism is a smaller type of religion that we have seen around the world that is the kind of the belief that everything has a soul. Every object, person, place, thing, an object, a rock has a soul, and that connection from this physical body to the spiritual body, or the soul of that object, is a very real part of daily life, and that is animism. Deism is a type of religion that believes in one God, but the difference between them and other monotheistic religions is in deism, they believe that the god does not interfere with the world. It's more of a silent observer, so to speak. I personally don't know of any major religions that have this sort of belief, but it is a belief system, and I thought it was important to share this kind of idea with you. So it's possible to have a monotheistic religion that is subclassed as deism, meaning they have one god that they believe in, but that god might not exactly be present or intervene with the world in the current state of your fantasy world. It's just something to think about. That's why it's here in this video. Pantheism is kind of the idea that God is nature and everything is part of this all-encompassing God. You can see in a lot of fantasy stuff, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, they have pantheons, and these pantheons have domains, like the different gods or the different beings in the pantheon, or the kind of board, the classification of gods, you could call it, I guess. They have certain domains over different things that deals with nature, life and light and death and forgery and different things that they have these gods working and looking over. It's kind of a pantheon, but that pantheon is part of an all-encompassing belief system of God. And last, I'm probably going to mess up the spelling, so I'm going to say it twice. It's either detheism or ditheism. That's the only ways I can think to say it. And it's basically the belief system that there are two equally powerful deities or gods that are in direct opposition of each other. You could look at this and say, oh, that's God and the devil. You could look at it from that perspective, but there's also things like life and death, or light and dark. These kind of opposing forces that counteract each other but are equally powerful. That is detheism or ditheism. So even going over this and just scratching the surface of all these different belief systems, you can see there's a lot here you can play with in building your own fantasy world. You could combine, mix and match these to make your own world religion how you want it to do, or how you want it to be. For Yindir, I did a similar thing. I decided to have multiple religions. So far, I've only come up with two. I have a monotheistic and I have a polytheistic that is more of a pantheon type religion that exists in the world. And for Yindir, the details are a little fuzzy on both because, and I chose this intentionally because the world of Yindir is not a super religious world. You won't go to towns in Yindir necessarily and find very active temples or convents. They exist, but it's not a commonplace thing. But there are two major world religions right now that I've come up with that do exist in some form. One is the monotheistic, which of course is there is a greater good, the all-knowing, the great one, we'll call him or her. It's just a higher being that created the world at the beginning. Similar to modern-day Christianity in their concept of God is my monotheistic world religion of Yindir. Then I have my polytheistic one, which I'm having a little more fun with this because it goes into the fantasy realm a little more, and it's kind of the idea that the world was originally created by titans. And in my world, I've defined titans are not necessarily god killers or something, but they are gigantic creatures that floated around in outer space for years and then came together to find each other and then built a world that fit them as a new home, which then was inhabited by people from some way or another. I'm still working on that. But the titans are gigantic versions of the normal world creatures that people believe in as deities. And currently in my world, we have one is Jahan, because I have a cleric of Jahan, and that's been described as a gigantic kraken. Now, a kraken is already big, but if you take that times like 100, it's a pretty massive beast. And that's the size of the titans. I can take the kraken, the idea of Jahan, a giant kraken, and I can take that same idea and make a giant eagle, and that could be another deity in my world, another titan that people believe in, or the idea of a gigantic deer. Things like that, where the world also is so big that people don't see these, and thus they don't believe in it as often. There are a few that may have seen it or experienced these titans and felt their presence and believe in them as gods, but that is the polytheistic religion, is the kind of the belief in multiple gods of titans that watch over the world of Yindir. Now that I've broken down several belief systems, and really, when I was doing the research for this, I really barely scratched the surface. This is nothing in terms of world religions and things you can do with beliefs, but this is a start. It's a primer. I want you to take this information, go ahead and think about what you want for your world. What is your world religion, or one of many, or several, whatever you want to come up with, and let me know in the comments below what you decide for your world. If you like this video, I invite you to hit the like button, and of course subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos every day. And of course, fellow game masters, I've been Richard Quiner. Thank you for watching.